Welcome to Dog Explaining, where we break down what your dog is really trying to tell you. I'm Dana, a canine coach and holistic wellness specialist focused on nutrition, inner health, and essential oils. I'm on a mission for your dog to eat better, feel better, and live longer.
And I'm Angela. I'm your 456 wellness and behavior coach, focusing on helping you understand the connection between four paws, five elements, and six fun tricks.
We're here to help you connect the dog, behavior, food, health, and everything in between with honest conversations and straight talking guidance.
If you're ready to get past the noise and actually understand what your dog needs you to know, you're in the right place. Now here's today's Dog Explaining episode. Welcome, fellow dog moms and
Welcome, everybody. I am Dana Brigman of the Well Canine and Canine Coach. And I have with me today Angela and Daniela. I'll let each of them introduce themselves in a second or two. And we're here to have our bi-weekly discussion about what we call dog explaining and the things that we want pet parents to know and the things we think our dogs want our pet parents to know. So, Angela, say hello and tell us about your business.
Hello, everyone. I am, as Dana said, my name's Angela. I am 456 Canine Coach. I started out as a foster mom, and it turned into running a rescue, which turned into dog training, which now has become a boarding business out of my home. So yeah, I'm the canine coach. I take all the knowledge that I learned from Dana and I apply that to my clients, and I help them not just with behavioral issues, but having a healthy dog from the inside out.
Don't let her fool you. We're very collaborative. She knows many things that I don't know. So, and we're really excited to have our first ever guest on the podcast or the call or whatever you want to call this, Daniela Angelone from Barks and Blooms out of Charlotte, North Carolina. So welcome, Daniela. Tell us about yourself.
Thank you. And I am equally excited to be here. My name is Daniela Angelon. I have been running Barks and Blooms here in Charlotte for almost 12 years now. Prior to that, I started in rescue. I started just like everybody else with no information and just saw a dog in need, and I learned the hard way. So, I fostered for many years, probably about a decade, and I was heavily involved in rescue. And then it's always been a huge passion of mine, and I transitioned that into providing reliable pet care for people that needed someone trustworthy. And, in the beginning, we did do a lot of dogs that most pet sitters wouldn't take. And we still do. But there's huge demand. A lot of it's just finding, the right fit for your dog and really understanding who your dog is. So,
yeah. And so that's what today's episode is about, finding the right match for your dog or your family of dogs when you have to go out of town on business or vacation or whatever the need that takes you away from home. How do you find the resource that you can trust leaving your dogs, your pets, your family members with in your absence? And it's not always as easy as I think people think it is. I mentioned to Angela and Daniela a little bit ago, what I see in my area pretty often is somebody who has time on their hands, may have retired from whatever job, and it's like, yeah, I'll watch your dog, I'll keep your dog. And I personally struggle with that significantly because I have a dog that I won't trust with just anybody for medical reasons. So, Daniela, tell us about sort of the interview process of selecting, or what you go through when you're matching up, or if people are interviewing you,
Sure.
what you're looking for to know about those dogs and finding that fit.
Absolutely. I can talk about two different things I think are very important. Our process and how we make sure your dog stays safe and we stay safe and setting
Yep.
everyone up for success. And then also, I think it's important to know the landscape of pet care.
Absolutely.
It's very important to understand the differences between some companies that hire independent contractors and those that hire employees. You cannot legally train independent contractors. So you're handing over control to someone who's then passing it off to third party. And I personally think that's very risky. So to start there, we are a professional company that employs employees. So we do train our team. I'm very hands-on. I meet every and screen every family and every dog that comes into our Barks and Blues family. When we set up what we call a consult or a meet and greet, most people don't realize it, but it's a dual interview. I'm interviewing them just as much as they're interviewing me because I'm trying to determine when I'm in the room if this dog is a good fit for home care, because not all dogs are.
Right.
And it goes both ways. Some dogs are just not a good fit for home care. So I
Home care
usually know the
being you
parameters.
come, I'm just sorry. Home care being you go to their home, keep that animal,
Yes.
maybe stop in 3, 4, 2 times a day while they're
Yes.
gone, right?
Our service is strictly in-home care, so we go into other people's homes. So it's like having a chef come to your home as opposed to going out to eat at a restaurant.
Right.
We bring everything to your house. That works really well for medical dogs, for seniors, for shy dogs, for dogs that aren't super social, because what I try to explain to people, I think everyone just assumes that a dog is a dog is a dog. They're happy. They like to be around other dogs. They're just like people. They have their own personality. Some dogs aren't social. Some dogs are grouchy. Some dogs have, issues that might not make them a good fit for daycare and vice versa. So really my job is to set expectations with the client, go there, meet the dog, determine what the needs are. That comes first for us. And then if I feel like they're a good match, we'll move forward. And if I don't, I'll make a recommendation. But usually I can tell we have a protocol around that. We've had a lot of, I have had bites coming into meet and greets, and I've learned a lot over, 2 decades. So we require that the dogs are inside the home when we come, and we are to come to the door just as normal, like anyone else, because that gives me an indication of how that dog is going to react to someone coming into their home, into their space. And I can usually read that energy when I come into a room. Because everything is energy, as you know. I mean, it's how you carry yourself. It's just reading the dog's body language, because we are basically interpreters for dogs. Because I will tell you that a lot of people love their dogs and think they know their dogs, but we've had situations where, that doesn't always carry over to pet care. Your dog is going to behave very differently when you're not home versus when someone's there. So, and I've had it go both ways. So we just try to plan ahead. Part of the reason we do the consults too is to find out where things are, what kind of harnesses we're using, what kind of leashes we're using, collars, to make sure those are safe and appropriate. If they're not, we make recommendations. I check their yards, look for holes in the fence. I look for any type of anything that could be a risk or could, as far as safety. Even something as simple as what door we come in, which we prefer garages because we can close one door behind us and open another. So, a lot of it's about the dog's personality, and that drives a lot of it. But we also try to mimic routines, keep things consistent as possible for those dogs, just like their owner would. We do drop-in visits, but those times vary just depending on the needs, but we make custom approaches to that. And we ask a lot of questions. I think the biggest thing is if you have someone that's coming to your house and just immediately runs up to your dog, hugging them, and doesn't ask a lot of questions, that to me is a red flag. This is something that should be taken very seriously. I've heard and I've seen really tragic things happen from people making very, very small mistakes that are, it's hard to blame them because they just don't know better. Having strangers come into a skittish dog, that's a fleet and flight risk right there. So we really try to head off any risk. just for safety. And so, and everything is documented. We have protocols for our team. We review things. No one goes to any home without me going there first. And then there's a transitional process. But, you know, as far as advice, I can give lots of advice on how to, you know, how to do that on any level, whether you're hiring a professional or what we would call a hobbyist or someone that does it, you know, part-time for just extra money.
Yeah. You know, you mentioned sort of having that two-door system, go in through the garage, land in the laundry room, garage is closed, door is closed, and then you open the kitchen, right? Or in case of my house, it's down the hallway. That safety protocol helps prevent the escape.
Yes.
And I think a lot of times people don't recognize the risk associated with something like that. Like, I had a guy come in my house to do some work the other day, and I am very much in control of the dogs and the door. And every time he went out, he left the door open. I'm like, dude, what are you doing? And so even
I'm
though,
telling you.
what's that?
No. Go ahead.
I was just going to say,
I'll have a comment after.
Even though I had managed the dogs, it's just careless, right? He had no clue where my dogs were, and he wasn't in that mode of thinking. So we have to be very careful about even those kinds of things, and letting somebody else into the house, or when someone comes in the house. And you mentioned training the people is so important, because most people don't think the way the three of us do about those safety protocols.
Yeah. Would you agree,
Well, and another
Daniela,
big issue with this is liability.
Yeah,
Go ahead.
absolutely. Life and death.
Oh, absolutely. I think the devil's in the details. I can give you numerous examples of things that, you know, and a lot of times we have to push back. We've had owners say, oh, our dog is just fine off leash. With you, he's probably fine off leash. He's probably not going to be fine off leash with someone he doesn't know. And we don't take the risk. So to me, that's a no-go for us. And if that's a deal breaker, then that's not a client we would take. So we don't set ourselves up to fail. We like to set everyone up for success. One of the things that we require is for people to disclose to us who is coming into your home when we're not there, because we've had landscapers leave gates open. We've had people leave doors unlocked. We've had dogs that are incredibly stressed after housekeepers leave. You know, there's just a lot that goes into it. And, you know, even something as simple as we try to come through the same door that the owners normally come through. So if they're used to coming through the garage door and the dogs expect them there, we keep that consistent, because even something as different as coming in through a front door, that sort of sets off, in some cases, a red flag with some dogs. They immediately posture and become, you know, a little more on guard. It's just something that's off routine, and all those details really matter. And so we ask a lot of questions, and the reason for that is just so we have all the information to keep your animal safe while you're gone. That's our priority. And of course, keeping them happy, which really goes hand in hand.
Yeah. Angela, what was your question?
I'm thinking. Okay. So it sounds like, and would you agree that your interview process, probably a majority of the time, you are educating these pet owners on things that they've never considered about their own pet, and teaching them more about behavior than they ever knew?
Yes. And hopefully most of them listen. You know, sometimes they're so focused on just getting the directions out, but we don't like written directions. We have a system that we like that in, so it's all documented, and the communication stays in one place, so we don't miss a detail. The breed matters. You know, we have different approaches for different breeds. Just have an abundance of caution, but I've never been bit by a pit bull. I've been bit by a bloodhound. But you know what? That was my fault. You know why? Because I carried anxious energy into that house without realizing it. And it wasn't related to that dog. Something had happened, and I was upset, and I came in with that energy. And so that energy does and sometimes, you know, transfer.
Yep.
If I'm not confident or if I'm not comfortable, dogs pick up on that really quickly, especially protection breeds. But usually with protection breeds, there is a process where we start with that client before they ever leave town. So we'll probably come there, depending on the dog, we'll do like a trigger stack where we'll come like 3 days a week. Then we'll do 2 days a week. But we do drive runs just to make sure everything is safe. Because the last thing you want to do is have somebody be out of town and then you can't get in the door because you're going to get eaten alive. And that's, if somebody's overseas, you don't want to have to call your client and say, I can't get in to feed your dog because he's trying to bite me, because you also don't want to set the dog up to fail either, because that's their job, is to protect their house. So,
Right.
There's just a lot that goes into it. Same with Chihuahuas. They're just as, they're the same way. A little easy.
Oh,
We can
for
wear rain
sure.
boots, but
Yeah.
So, but we
I-
have tricks.
Yeah. So for the three of us, it was firsthand experience. We all learned on the fly over the years.
Learned the hard way.
Huh? What?
Learned it the hard way.
Yeah. So yeah. So Daniela, when you
Rescue work
in-
teaches you a lot.
Yes, it does.
life lessons, yes. Daniela, when you bring in an employee or a new pet sitter, what's their experience like? Meaning, you go with them, you teach them what you would do, but do you often find they think they know best? They think they know it all?
Well, from all the applications that we get, I can tell you everybody wants to be a pet sitter. Not everybody can be a pet sitter. Our interview starts before I even meet them with communication, reliability, things like that. I look for people that I can train, that are open to be trained. I'm not looking for people that think they know it all, because that's just a recipe for disaster. And a lot of people think they know what pet sitting is, but they don't really see the side of it that we deal with as professionals, because our clients have higher expectations. We have more detailed instructions. We have medical issues. We have behavioral issues. And, so it's just different. But I actually had a lady, I think it was last year, that laughed at me because she was like, I was telling all my friends about your screening process, because she had to do 3 interviews, background check, and other things. And it was pretty extensive, but to me, going into someone's home is incredibly important. It's their private space. It's my reputation. I have to be able to feel comfortable with that person, and I'll screen them as, that's our process. So if that's sometimes it's not for them,
Yeah.
and we're happy to let them go.
Certainly that home space, you have business insurance, you have liability insurance, you have insurance should there be an incident, right? Or something stolen.
Which we hope we never have to use.
Amen to that. Knock on wood. Lord, I'm not even going to put it in the universe. But we all have.
But to answer your question,
but I bet
we have a whole process around that.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say that we have a whole process around onboarding people. So our hiring process is one thing, and then onboarding and training is a whole other process.
Yeah.
That goes for about a month. So they have to do book learning with us, and then they have to do shadow following us in the field, and even with a specific dog. So they have to follow us into a home and learn that exact protocol before they're ever allowed to go there on their own.
Yeah. And so all of this, I think, is really important, and certainly a step above, many steps above the dog watcher, not a dog walker per se, but the person who says, yes, I'll watch your dog. I'll keep your dog. I'll come stay with your dog. Sometimes I think those are, at least in my area, they are people who mean well, but don't have a whole lot of experience and probably not a lot of professional backing, if that makes sense.
It really just comes down to understanding basic behaviors, like when a dog is scared, or if your dog is shy. That is really, I think, what sometimes can keep me up at night, are people that can't find affordable care for skittish or shy dogs, because I know the general person does not understand how to deal with those dogs, and they need a very specialized approach. And I can think of numerous situations. In fact, Teresa Tucker is a great friend of mine. She runs a pet recovery service, and we're in touch a lot, not because we lose pets, but because a lot of people do.
Yeah.
And, and it's always very, very minor, simple things with these type of dogs that make them high risk that people just don't plan for, which is hard.
Well, it can be,
And there's not always good outcomes.
It can be as simple as the leash you use, the
Mm-hmm.
collar that the dog wears, all of those.
And how you clip it.
Matter.
I've seen people try to clip collars to ID tags instead of the actual hook itself. Guess what? Those stretch out and come apart.
Mm-hmm.
Little tiny details like that. Pulling on a dog when it doesn't want to go one direction, that causes a back out situation where they can back out and flee. And once a dog flees, the worst thing you can do is chase it.
That's right.
Because you will run it right out of its territory of it that it knows, especially if it's a skittish dog. In fact, we had a situation one time, this was many, many, many years ago, where a client's front door did not latch, and she really did not tell us that. So while someone was preparing the meal, the front door swung open with the wind, and out go the 3 dogs. They were big. So we ran from them. And got them excited, got their
You created the game of chase you versus
they
chasing them.
Us home and back in the house. That's only happened once, but it was like, a lot of it's just, or lay down dead. I mean, it piques their interest. They'll come back and try to figure out what you're doing, but the worst thing you can do is chase a dog.
Yeah.
So, and tell everybody to chase them around. So that's just something I'll just put out there. But we never want that to happen, and that's why we have our rules. So hopefully that helps. But there's so much you can do.
So Daniela, what would make a less than ideal pet sitter? I mean, what should pet parents be? I mean, you come at this with a professional scope of business, and as does Angela, for example. I'm not doing boarding per se anymore, but what should the pet parent be asking?
I think a lot of the times it's where you source your pet sitter, and it's about getting references, not taking them at their word, calling those references, talking to people that they've pet sit before. That's all incredibly important. It may seem like a lot of work, but it's a lot less work than hiring someone to find your dog.
Very true.
Like I said, the interview starts before you ever meet them. Are they responsive to you? Do they act like this is it's like a daisical? Anybody who treats pet care like a daisical is not someone that you want taking care of your animals, because it's like, they're just pets and they're fine, and whatever. But there's a lot of work that goes into it. It's a lot of liability. It's a lot of responsibility, especially having access to people's homes. We've had people break into people's homes while they were out of town, water breaks. I mean, I think we've seen just about everything in 12 years. And no problem is, unsolvable. But the main thing is remaining calm and just doing everything you can to do what's right by the pet owner and the pet.
Mm-hmm.
So, Daniela, for someone that's looking for their next pet sitter, what are some things that they should know and be prepared about so they don't, let's say, get fired from being a client? Because we all know that things happen and you're just like, okay,
yes,
this is not going to be a good fit.
Well, I can tell you, not being honest, the only time I will tell you, if somebody tries to meet you outside with their dog, that's a big red flag for behavior.
Yeah.
There's a reason why they're meeting you outside. Most likely, if I come through the door, that dog's going to try to bite me. So I know I learned that the hard way. I don't meet people outside. I like to see how the animal behaves when I come in the door. The dog has to be leashed if there's even a question, and I will let them know when that dog can come off leash, because I can usually tell from the body language if this is going to need acclimation work, which is a process that we do to acclimate the dog to pet care. That can happen over a couple of weeks. Some dogs, it takes a lot longer, and so preparation is key. doing a run through, just kind of, I do dry runs. If I'm not sure, we'll schedule just an appointment. When are you going to be out of the house? We'll do a dry run to see how things go, just to make sure things go smoothly, things like that. Not leaving clear instructions. People give them the brown pill. Well, there's 4 bottles here with 4 brown pills. Which brown pill? So we will message them and say, here are the pills. Which brown pill do you want does your dog need? And, just reading instructions. We get into a fine line sometimes where I see bad advice being given, and I try to stay in my lane, but I think we probably all deal with that, where some medication might have extreme side effects for a very mild condition, or something like that. But I do my best to follow the instructions that the pet owner gives us. We always do, and really just be patient with the animal, because this is new to them too. I think people treat them like possessions, but they're sentiment beings. They have personalities. They get confused, they get scared, just like everybody else, and you really just have to give them some patience with the new routines.
Yeah.
As well.
So when is it a better option to choose in-home care versus sending them to like a boarding facility? Angela, you're completely different because you're there every day. Some of these boarding facilities, there's nobody there overnight. You are, So when do pet parents think about those choices?
For me, it's pretty obvious. It comes down to the age and the breed, usually. Energy level, because we do a customized drop-in type situation, that is not appropriate for a puppy, and it's just not. And if they're crated all day, it's honestly better if they're in a daycare environment or somewhere they can expend energy, of course, unless they have like a nervous behavior or some sort of tic that's different, or a medical issue. To me, young dogs or dogs with high energy, working breeds, they need to be in a place that they get a lot of activity. Now, we run dogs, we walk dogs, but even if we do that 3 times a day, that's enough for some. So it just depends on getting to know what that dog's needs are. Usually the owner will know. If they're in a crate or not is a big thing for me, because we won't allow dogs to stay in crates all day for week-long vacations. It's just not appropriate. Now, what I do find is that not every daycare place is created the same. There are a lot of people that overbook, cram a lot of dogs into a small space, which is incredibly overwhelming for dogs. So I think just like in-home pet care, if you're doing daycare, start that process before you leave town. Drop them off for half of a day, see how they do. Sure. Then maybe a full day, and just kind of ease them into it so that it's not a shock to their system, because dogs can get sick just from stress, as like colitis. We deal with that all the time. Some dogs are really sensitive to changes, so we just have to be mindful of that.
My friend that lives here, she's keeping her son's dog while they went on vacation, and the dog is got runny diarrhea with blood specks in it, and I'm like, that is just pure stress. So I gave her some suggestions, and we tuned that up, and things are fine. But that dog's just in a stressful mode, not being at his house.
And so for us, it becomes like, me as an owner, I am aware of every dog in our care, everything down to the food they eat and medical conditions that they have. So my team keeps me aware of what's going on. It's almost like I'm there because I have access to all the information. I can see the reports. And so what we have to do is determine what is an emergency and what is a wait and see. And sometimes that can be hard, but I'm not a vet, and nor do I claim to be a vet or give out vet information. Always defer people to ask their vet. But, I am a pet tech instructor, so I know some basics about health and indicators of what could be serious. Bright blood is typically irritation, and dark blood is more indicative of an instruction of something more serious. So the poop tells us always what's going on, the poop and the behavior. Those 2 things alone will tell me if it's a wait and see or if they need to go to the ER vet. And guess what? If they have to go, we take them. We don't ask questions. If I can't reach the owner, we're going anyway. But I usually defer to the owner unless I feel very strongly it's an emergency. In that case, I may have a ride and take them anyway, because I don't want a dog dying in my care. And
No,
we've had to take a lot of dogs to the hospital
I'm the
over
same
the
way.
course
My
of 4 years.
form, and Angela, I think yours does too now. It basically says, I'm not waiting. If I believe this is emergent, I'm not waiting
Mhm.
around to hear back from you. I am in the car as if it were my own dog, and I would make those same choices. I worry, and this is why I haven't been on vacation in a long time. I worry that not
I know,
everyone
and I hate that.
would make the same smart decision about what they're looking at. So I err on the side of
It
caution.
takes experience. Yeah, and I think it takes experience to really know. But the last thing I want to do is, if I have a family vacation in Greece, I don't want to call them because their dog has runny poop, because tomorrow it might be fine.
Yeah,
But, with that being said, I look at the behavior. Is the dog behaving normally? Is it not? That's as you know, a huge indicator.
for sure.
If I'm concerned or have any worry, I'm not taking a risk. So that's just how
Right.
we do things.
Agreed.
So, but we try to minimize the stress so that, the pet doesn't develop stress colitis or things like that. And those are simple tricks. We might tell the owner to put nice music on, or aromatherapy, or leave the TV on so there's some household noise, or there's so many things you can do to relax your dog and make things easier. Something as simple as keeping the routines consistent, even down to the commands. We try to keep everything consistent for them so that
Yeah.
less
What,
change.
what about the medical dog? Like my Harvey, knock on wood, we haven't had a seizure in about 6 or 7 weeks now. But he takes medication that technically needs to happen every 12 hours. And diabetic dogs, they're typically
Mhm.
on medication schedule as well. And those things are super critical. Is that something
Mhm.
that a drop-in service can offer?
Oh yeah, we do that. What we have is we have medication logs that we track. We track
Mhm.
what time the medication was given, if they pooped, if they peed, if they ate, because that all matters. We have done sub Qs on a bunny before.
Oh,
We've
wow.
done. So, we give fluids at home if we need to. Not everybody's qualified to do that, but we have vet techs, that we can outsource that to if we need to. We do whatever it takes
Yeah.
to make sure that your dog is happy and alive when you get home. So if that means that we sit in the hospital all night, that's what we do. So
And I know
really,
you've done that. I know you have spent holidays in
every
ERs.
holiday, it never fails. I'm like, every single holiday, it must be like this unspoken rule. The dogs are like, am I going to stop eating or puke up a sock? I mean, you just,
Yeah.
life
People you
happens.
people
Things
used to
happen. It's
ask
just
me
how you deal with
why
them.
I didn't do pet sitting. And I'm like, I'm not getting up at 5 o'clock in the morning to start making the rounds and not coming home till midnight, because I had to do the last call. I listen, I have all the respect in the world for you and your staff that does that. It's not my jam.
Mm-mm. I did it during COVID. It's exhausting.
It's a lot of responsibility, and I guess you have to develop it like a muscle. I try not to sweat the small stuff. Like, we, like I said, go do home visits and just look for any we risk mitigate like crazy. And then in addition to that, once I meet the dog, I figure out, okay, who on my team is the best fit for this dog? Because,
Mhm.
you know, personality matches matter, and a shy dog's not going to want someone who's really like, outspoken and running around making erratic movements, and they need somebody with a lot of patience, and so a lot of it's about fit. So I think what the difference is when you hire professional services, they do that for you, as opposed to if you're going to a platform, which is a platform, they do not screen these people that are coming to your home. That is your job. um, the work falls on you to do that. So
You're talking about like the rovers or the online
the
services where
rovers, the
you go and pick
care.com.
somebody.
I know how rover screens their sitters, at least as of a couple of years ago. I don't know a lot about care. I do know they do background checks at care, but I just find that you can find somebody really great, or you can find someone that's criminally scary.
Amen.
So it's like Russian roulette. And I'm not knocking the platform. I'm not saying there's not great pet sitters on Rover, because there are, but it's your job to figure out who's who.
Yeah. And I think
It's
that's
not
true in the trainer space as well. Hell, I think it's true in the wellness space. I know somebody that there's a whole little Reddit subfaction out there about this particular wellness person who scammed a whole bunch of people out of money. I mean, I get it. So,
well, and we've talked about trainers and
and we're going
probably
to another
topic.
day. We're going to come back to that topic in the future. But I know you're a member of what is International Pet Sitters Association. I don't know all the alphabet, but you're part of this. What is one of the benefits of that?
PSI is a network for professional pet sitters. They give you a lot of education, support, access to others in your industry that might have more experience than you. It's like an accreditation, basically. They have like a certification you can do that is like a pet sitter course, essentially. But experience is a good teacher. So I am accredited. I am a pet tech instructor, so I'm accredited in that sense. And also I am part of PSI, which is a professional accreditation. PSI.com is a great place to find a pet sitter that's professional, because you can put in your zip code and they will give you a list of professionals in your area. Not all of them will be equal, so it's your job but it'll give you a good baseline to start from if that's, something that is in your budget. But I think the hardest thing to see is just that it's just hard to see people not be able to afford good pet care, and not everybody can. So I wish there were better tools out there, to educate the everyday person that, may want to do pet sitting on the side, and to teach them how to do it safely. So maybe that's something that will be something I go in the future. I don't know.
Yeah. I see 3 people that might be able to offer something,
right.
Which leads
knowledge is power.
Leads me to my next question. I mentioned earlier what I see, and I know it's everywhere. I just see it in my area, but we've got a bazillion Facebook groups for Myrtle Beach, North Myrtle Beach, Horry County, this community, that community. And in every single one, every single day, and especially on the weekends, people are introducing themselves as a pet sitter, or there's somebody looking for a pet sitter. What advice would you offer to somebody who says, hey, I'll watch your dog? What beyond maybe the things that we've talked about, or maybe digging a little deeper, what should they be aware of? What should they, I don't even know how to frame my question. I just know
I think the biggest,
say, I'll watch your dog.
I know what you're trying to say.
And I run from them.
I think most people look for caregivers out of convenience when they should be looking for them out of like safety and preparation. So in other words, you want someone that is going to be prepared. Like I said, dry runs, meet them in person, see how your dog interacts with them. Dogs will tell you a lot of information about someone if you're paying attention, whether they're comfortable. Certain dogs have certain triggers, like as far as a lot of people like to reach over a dog's head to pet them. That's not something we do. I mean, those are really simple things, but I think just doing dry runs is so important, just to make sure that they're capable, but leaving really detailed instructions, developing a protocol, such as please take my dog out this door and close the garage before you open this door, leave specific information, leave instructions, have an emergency plan in place, have someone nearby if something happens that can step in and take your dog to the vet, or, because you don't know if that person's going to be willing to do that or not. That's a conversation, you should have up front. I can make a checklist for you if you'd like. And
Yeah.
But I think the most important thing is meeting them, seeing how your dog does with them. Do a dry run. Have them walk your dog. Walk with your dog. Make sure they're following your protocols, and just make sure they're open to instruction, because a lot of people aren't.
What are your thoughts on walking multiple dogs or having multiple dogs loose in the house together during these extended absences between your drop-ins, or transporting dogs to and from appointments safely? What are your thoughts on those topics?
Well, there's three parts. So the first question about walking, we do not walk more than two dogs at a time. We do not walk two big dogs at a time unless they're really great on leash manners, just specifically for safety. We changed our policy because this happened to us so long ago, and I was completely traumatized from it. We had a pet sitter that was walking two small dogs and was accosted by three off-leash dogs from a very
Oh my
short
gosh.
distance around someone's house, where someone left the gate open. So my pet sitter was attacked. The two dogs were attacked. One died.
Oh my God.
And that was absolutely devastating. I was there within minutes. We got the dogs into surgery, but one did not make it. And looking back on that, I always think, what could we have done differently? Well, it wasn't our fault. These were off-leash dogs. It was really a freak situation.
Yeah.
But, one was a smaller dog. And he was walked on a retractable leash, which we don't do anymore. It was harder for her to get control of that dog quickly, to
For
scoop him
sure.
up. And even if you pick up a dog, if dogs want to get a dog, they are going to jump. And I've had dogs jump. I'm holding dogs over my head
Yeah.
because this has happened to us a lot. That was really difficult. Those clients are still our clients. We still see them 5 days a week now, just like we did then. Because we did everything in our power to make it right, even though it wasn't our fault. It was just a really horrible, horrible accident.
Yeah.
But for that reason, we do not walk multiple dogs at the same time, because you just cannot control situations, even ones that are like that, because
Right.
that can happen. And it's just not something that I'm really willing to take a risk on anymore. Dogs can get reactive. If there's any sort of reactivity or anything else, it has to be a one-on-one situation for us.
Yeah.
And we'll cater the visits accordingly. If we have to walk them separately, we have dogs that walk really well together. It's just about knowing them and how they walk, and that's part of what we flesh out at the meet and greet.
Yeah.
What type of tools they're using, and how they're walking them, and where they're walking them. And if we know dogs are down here that might jump the fence, we go the other way. If we see off-leash dogs, we turn around. So we kind of dictate what we feel is in their best interest. So
And I
because we have
think
to make those
that
calls.
that's an important thing. What's rattling in my head is you have clients that have been long term. Those dogs got to know you and you got to know them. And there is a relationship of trust and connection and all that comes with that. A lot of times, if you're just picking somebody to watch your dog for the weekend, there is no bond. And there is no trust between the dog and the human, and the human's taken off like, hey, this is no big deal. And yet that dog may prove to be far less well behaved or more reactive with the unknown entity than they would be with their own parent, with their own guardian.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
And I see that all the time. I come into a meet and greet and I have a dog that's cowering in the corner. When the owner's gone, happy as a lark. And I have it the opposite way too. So we just never know. That's why if they're a new client, we have to take, we have to might do like a trial situation to see how they're going to do when we come in the door.
Yeah.
We always ask ahead of time, what are their tasty treats they like? What are the things that they really love? Sometimes it could be just picking up a leash. Some dogs love walks that much that they don't care who you are. They'll go and they'll be happy about it.
Right.
But it's just about finding out what that makes that dog tick and how to wiggle your way into their heart.
I think it would be great if we put together a collaborative blog led by you on that checklist you're talking about, those things to ask. Because I'm not in Charlotte. You know, you don't get to watch my dogs. Angela might.
Sorry, I wouldn't. I would a second.
I could invite you down
wish there were
here to
more-
stay for the weekend or the week, and you could go on the golf cart to the beach.
I'd be happy to. I would do it for you.
Yeah, but you know what?
I think
All
another
these
thing
things
I
that we're
would
talking
say-
about, just to remind the pet parent what they should be looking for and what the safety protocols really are. The collars they choose, the collars comes off, the pet sitter walks out the door kind of thing. The leash is not retractable. I don't care that you walk them on that. I suggest you don't, but we're not going to, and you shouldn't look for a pet sitter that's willing to do that. You know, those kinds of things. So, and though, you know, when
we plan for worse.
Me too. I want to prevent worst case scenario, and somehow there's always a surprise, you know. But I mean, I remember
plan for it. We plan for worst case scenario.
Yeah, for sure. When I was interviewing pet sitters, it's been a little while, and I still haven't gone on a trip, but they're like, "Well, what are you gonna asking me? What are you going to do if you're on vacation and there's a hurricane?" I'm like, "I'm leaving my dog in your care. And I know you have gone out, rain, sleet, snow, hail, blizzard, the whole thing, because they're in your care during that time." And I mean, I've literally had one girl who said, "Well, if it's a hurricane or whatever, I'm leaving and you will have to find somebody else to tend to your dogs." I'm like, how does that work if I'm not even in the country?
I don't agree with that, because it's their job. If somebody's leaving their dog in my care, it is my responsibility to come up with a plan.
Yeah.
That's how it is. I would never leave someone's dog, even if someone's flight is delayed. Your dog is going to be in our care until you arrive home. And in fact, we require people to check in and say, "We're home. Our dogs are back in our care," because then I can sleep at night. Because I mean, these are live animals. You cannot predict everything that's going to happen. So we try not to adhere to strict schedules. People say, "Oh, well, you have to be here at 1:00. Well, the dog that we're taking care of before you said he's going to vomit all over the floor today. So, you know, it just doesn't always go as planned, and you have to be able to really roll with it, roll with the punches, and be calm, and just, you know, and try to and work through the situation that's in the best interest of the dog. Yeah. So, and even if there's a hurricane, even if there's a flood, you know, it's still your responsibility. And so if I know there's a big storm coming, particularly a snowstorm, we'll start planning before people even leave town. Who do you have that lives close by to you if the road's iced that we can't get there? Like, we'll walk if we have to, but we try to come up with a contingency plan, you know, for that. So, I mean, a lot of it's planning, and people may think that's overkill, but I don't want to bother you on vacation with these questions, you know. So,
Angela, do you have?
I will say the biggest thing. I'm sorry to interrupt.
No, go ahead. The biggest thing is what?
The biggest mistake I see people make when they hire people, just general people, to come into their home, is inviting someone else to come with them that they don't know, or that owner doesn't know. That we see a lot.
That happened to me.
We've had situations.
I mean, girl had a full-on party at my house.
And you can imagine how distressing that is for a dog.
Like, I know.
They're already
listen, it's a dog. It was a 195-pound Great Dane that didn't like anybody to pet him. And here are these strangers when I found out about had a heart attack. Thank God there was no incident, but there could have been. Woo,
I know. Mercy. It's a lot. But yeah, like, even we had a situation recently. We had a client that hired her friend of a long time to watch her dog, and it was someone she trusted who's watched her dog before, but her dog decided to bring a friend in, and guess what? Her friend got bit inside her home, and who's liable? Her.
Mhm.
So it's, a lot of it, and this dog has a bite history, and, it's just setting your dog up to fail.
Yeah.
And I don't know, I can only give the advice. You can lead the horse to water, but you can't make them drink. But
Right.
don't have people in your home that your dog does not know when you're not there, unless they're a professional or you have some sort of acclimation process.
Yeah.
That's just the way I look
My
at it.
brain
So.
is spinning. I can see us standing in a conference room with because all the pet sitters that are down here, and maybe offering a class that talks about all the safety protocols, the training side, the aromatherapies that you talked about. I would love to do that, or how to handle that dog that's got the diarrhea because he's under stress because the people left, so all of that needs to be considered in some way. So yeah. All right, Angela, do you
Yeah.
have anything you want to add?
I have a personal question, if you don't mind.
Of course. Go right ahead.
I know for me, keeping the dogs in my home, I get very attached. They live with me, they're part of my family. And I know that what you're doing is quite different because you're on a schedule, you can spend so much time with this dog and then you're on to the next. How where do you fall in the spectrum of these dogs feel like family and you want to do more, or do you have to keep it more professional? In the services that you're providing and sort of draw the line. Like I can't do more just because, this client has asked for special circumstances.
I always do more for the dog and what I feel is in the dog's best interest. That always comes first, even if I have to have a difficult conversation with an owner. So to me, that comes first. We develop deep bonds with dogs. Anyone that we bring on as a client is part of our family. And I think the hardest part for us now is because we've been in business for 12 years, we're losing a lot of our family. And that is very
I know.
painful
Me too.
because they feel like your own. And I think people don't understand what a very deeply personal relationship we have with their animals that they know nothing about. And, we do care. We care a lot. And the hardest thing I think sometimes is knowing that one of our clients has passed and maybe someone didn't tell us,
Yeah.
or we didn't have a chance to say goodbye. Those are hard.
Yeah.
Sometimes we have dogs that we know are at the end of their life, and that is very emotional, and it just takes a lot out of us because when you've been taking care of a dog for 13 years and you watch them decline and you try to guide their parents through the end of life care, it takes an emotional toll on you because they are a part of you too. So
Yeah.
every dog that we care for is a part of us, and I make sure I hire people that care immensely for animals. It takes a very unique personality to be very empathetic, but also be willing to clean up throw up and vomit and wipe butts and things like that. I mean, it's a very special skill set, and you also, like most people that we hire may not be great people, but they relate to animals. And so that's their gift. So my job is to manage expectations, to set everybody up for success, to manage my team, to be there for questions. And because they do have questions from time to time, and it could be something as simple as where are the paper towels, or, we may have to go buy things while people are away, and we do that. So, yeah, it's hard. I mean, that I will tell you, the last 2 years has taken a lot out of us because we've lost a lot. We've lost some young ones too, and to lose them tragically is hard.
Yeah.
To come back from, and it doesn't have to be on our watch. It just is awful.
I'm in that phase too, right? Because I left Microsoft in 2012, and that's when I started training. So I'm in that 14-year range, and I see all these memories pop up on my Facebook feed of dogs that honestly that you care about, you love. Some of them you're like, I'm glad you went home, but others you know what connection you had with that dog, and now to see them aging out, it's painful, really painful. I get it.
I get
and to gain a to gain a dog's trust, I mean, that's deeply personal. You have to develop a bond with that. And that takes time and it takes effort and and that's something that we cultivate because building bonds is really what we do. So I'm not really interested in people that want to book me because their other pet sitter isn't available tomorrow at the last minute. I'm looking for people that are looking for relational type because that's what we do. We're good at building relations and taking care of dogs we know, and we do take new clients, but it's a process gaining trust, and I get that. We have to build trust, and we take that very seriously, and there's nothing that we won't do for an animal regardless.
I think that's why
I mean, I do it for animals that don't have owners.
I think that's why you have so much repeat business. And you too, Angela, you have the people who every time they leave for the holiday, for work or whatever, it's you they turn to, and you, Danielle, and your staff. So Daniela, is there
I think
anything
reliability is important.
for sure?
Go ahead, Angela. I'm sorry.
No, that was me. I was just going to say, is there anything else on your list that you wanted to make sure was covered today? Any final
I think
words of wisdom?
I mean, there's a lot. This is probably going to be like a 6-part series if you
Okay.
want it to be. But one thing I'll say, I'll tell you what I want to give some thoughts about a lot of objections that we get from people. A lot of people dismiss professional companies because they assume that we're not personal. We just send in random people. That it's better to get the neighbor because, it's one person. And what people have to keep in mind is it's a balance because what you sacrifice there is sometimes reliability. So something happens to that person, you're going to be stuck. And we get those calls every single day. My pet sitter has the flu. Da, 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 da. Like, we offer reliability. I manage the consistency. We do keep things consistent as possible, but in the way we work, we require that someone else on my team has met that dog, is comfortable with that dog, knows that dog's routine. So we have a backup plan in place because we are never, ever not going to show up, ever. We always honor our commitments, and it's not hard to be successful in this business if you do what you say and you manage expectations and you set people up for success, because we've never advertised. All of our business is referrals. We're still getting them, even though we're really not taking a lot of new clients right now. I wish we could, but it's hard to find people that want to work these days. And we won't sacrifice integrity and, our quality. So, but my goal would be to educate people better that, might be doing this as a side thing so that they can keep, I'm sure Teresa would like to be out of business recovering people's animals because it's not good. It's not fun work because,
No.
That's what I would like to see.
Yes.
So,
Awesome.
but thank you. You've been a great resource for me and for my clients because sometimes, I'm not the professional in your space, and, they may need advice on nutrition or, behavior or something like that. So I don't know everything. And if I don't, I'll find someone that does, or at least that knows that, that wheelhouse.
Right.
So.
All right, Miss Angela, anything from you?
Yeah.
I don't think so.
Okay.
It's a lot of information.
I'll just say that, Angela, I think you have a really tough job because I think managing dogs in your home is a lot harder than managing them in other people's homes. So maybe I'm wrong about that, but you have to be good at what you do in that realm too.
Yeah, I think it's easier to manage them in my home because everybody follows my rules and I don't have to follow their rules.
Well, that's a really good point.
Yeah, and the separation helps, right? The fact that she can close off that space and say night night puppies and still have her living room. I know that was meaningful when I had my child center, that it was detached from the house. Yeah.
I think one of the most important things is honesty. Is just being honest, communicating and being honest about things. We're always honest.
Yeah.
Good, bad, ugly.
Yeah.
So But anyway,
All
thank you for having me, and
Thank you for coming. I think
hope to
there's
do it again soon.
a fair number of topics that we can all dive in together. So I hope you'll come back.
I would love to be back. You just tell me when.
Okay, sounds good. All right. Thank you very much. And so remember to look up Daniela if you're in the Charlotte area. Her business is Barks and Bloom. Angela is 456 Canine Coach out of Wilmington. And then I'm Dana from the Well Old Canine Nutrition, Natural Wellness, and Angela's involved in all that with me as well. So together, I think we can help most everyone with something. So have a great day, everybody, and we'll talk to you
I
soon.
think so. I think you guys are power players. Great to interact.
Well,
and
we
share
need
ideas.
more people to know that. We need to get the word out.
We do. We can't keep this a secret forever.
That's right. That's right.
To Dogsplaining, we know you've got a lot of choices when it comes to dog advice. We appreciate you trusting us to keep it honest and helpful.
If today's episode helped you understand your dog's needs more clearly, share it with someone who may also need to hear it. And don't forget to follow or subscribe wherever you get your podcasts.
For more resources, visit us online or join the conversation in our community. We'll be back soon with more insight into your dog's behavior, health, and wellness. Questions welcome, and we love guests.
Until then, keep listening to Dogsplaining. Welcome to Dogsplaining, where we break down what your dog is really trying to tell you. I'm Dana, a canine coach and holistic wellness specialist focused on nutrition, energy work, and essential oils. I'm on a mission for your dog to eat better, feel better, and live longer.
And I'm Angela. I'm your 456 wellness and behavior coach, focusing on helping you understand the connection between 4 paws, 5 elements, and 6 fun tricks.
We're here to help you connect the dots, behavior, food, health, and everything in between, with honest conversations and straight talking guidance.
If you're ready to get past the noise and actually understand what your dog needs you to know, you're in the right place. Now here's today's Dogsplaining episode. Welcome, fellow dog moms and dads,
To Dogsplaining.
Dogsplaining. Today we're talking about first aid kits for your dogs, why it's important, what you should have available, and what to do in a real emergency. And yeah, so why it's important. You may be evacuated for a natural disaster type of situation, especially if you live on the coast like we do.
Yep.
You may have to leave your home because of something happening and stay with someone else. You want to make sure you've got basically your go bag, but make sure you have stuff for your animals included in that go bag. So we can start with the most common things. How does that sound?
Sounds good. I'll just make one little clarification. I do have another blog. The one they're seeing on the screen, if they're watching this on YouTube, is my first aid kit. But I do have a on-the-go bag